What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already. Man, I got to say, it's a tough way of going out the last game. Very controversial call to some. I kind of look at calls like that. You can look at it controversial all you want, but it doesn't change the fact of, the outcome of the game. And it's not going to play the game over or replay the game or something like that, to make it right or wrong or however you want to look at it. It just is what it is. So the main thing is the Clippers can't put themselves in a hole like that. You're down like 15 points going into the fourth quarter. You really got outplayed the whole game. Kawhi pretty much stayed solid, made some big plays in the fourth quarter. The Clippers made some, adjustments in the fourth quarter and played a lot better to make the comeback. And then for that to happen, it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, wow, the momentum swung right back to Denver's favor. And now you got to go back to Denver next game, and hopefully you can pull out a big win on the road, which is going to be tough because now they feel like they got the momentum back in their favor just because of how that game ended and, how much, energy it gave them for getting that win in LA, so the Clippers are going to have to really come in the next game and really just do the basics well. Stay in front of your man, play defense, don't do nothing crazy, and try to keep it simple as possible with less turnovers. That's just pretty much the name of the game. You keep the ball safe, give them less opportunities, crash those boards, play defense as you usually do. And the rest will take care of itself. I think. They just didn't play well. They really didn't. They just had a flat moment. You know what I mean? That's one of those moments where you don't need to be flat. Kawhi didn't have like a 30-plus point game like I thought he might have had myself, maybe including others, but he didn't have a bad game. He played pretty solid, if you ask me. James Harden, well, here we go with that again. That's one of those moments I feel like, I'm not going to say James Harden really laid an egg, but I mean, for the most part, he was contained. I'd say the first 2-3 quarters, I didn't see nothing really out of James Harden, much at all. Going that third quarter, I think he had minimal points. It wasn't like a game that he should have. And I don't know, you can give the Nuggets some credit. They made some good adjustments and things like that, but I just thought the Clippers overall did not play securely the way they should. They did not play to the level that they should play. When you have the momentum at home and you got an opportunity to put this team down 3-1, you got to take that. You got to really, because that's your moment to seize really take domination or control of the series going up 3-1. That gives you a lot more, leeway, a lot more room. So if you did go down to the Denver's house and you lost that game, you still got the advantage because you're up 3-1. You still have a little bit of leeway, even though you want to close it out. But now it's tied 2-2, and the series is probably going to go 7 games, like I predicted at first. And I said it either go 7 games or 5 games, for the Clippers. So the 5 games is definitely out now. But now I think it's probably going to go 7 games because now it's tied 2-2, and that game 5 is going to be so crucial for the Clippers to win tomorrow. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest games this is the biggest game of their season going into tomorrow. It just is. And as I said, the Clippers got the rebound a lot better. You can't let Jokic get 21 rebounds and Zubac only has 12. You got to cut those rebounds in half for Jokic. He can't have 30, damn near 40 points and 20 rebounds. That's not going to cut it. The Clippers really just didn't come out with the energy. They came out really flat, and I just didn't like what I saw pretty much throughout the game. And the comeback in, the fourth quarter was great, but it took so much energy to do that. Now you find yourself, in a situation like that where the game ends that way. It's a heartbreaker. It's one of those heartbreaker type games. It really is, and hopefully for the Clippers' sake, they mentally rebound from it because they got to do better. I mean, Chris Dunn missed some wide open threes, wide open opportunities that, he's going to have to knock down a little bit more. James Harden, like I said, I don't want to, shit on him too much, but damn, you can't have 15 points, bro. You can't have 15 points in a game like that. Game like that, you got to have at least 20 plus. Got to have 20 plus points. 15 points is minimal efforts to me, because you're looked at as one of the star players, of this generation, one of the best elite scorers of this generation. And in playoff games, your resume has always looked shaky to me. And he did have like 10 or 11 assists, but to me, that just wasn't good enough. You can't go out with 10, 11 assists and only 15 points. You got to have 20 plus points. I mean, if he scores 20 plus points, the Clippers win that game, because they only lost by 2. So you add 5 more points to what he has, the Clippers win that game. You know what I mean? They mount the comeback and they just win. So, I mean, like I said, and, Kawhi had 24 and 9. He played solid, just, maybe not. I feel like he played really good, but I'll say solid for his numbers, because, we expect Kawhi to just go out there and just be a machine and drop 30 plus every game, in which, sometimes it goes that way, sometimes it doesn't, so I'm not going to say nothing bad about that, because he played really well, actually. He was a big part of the reason why, I mean, the comeback was there, why it happened. And I feel like the Clippers need to put the ball in Kawhi's hands a whole lot more and, really wear down the Denver Nuggets with his isolation, with his, with his gameplay and the way he actually can command a offense and command a defense the way he does on the other side of the ball. I really think they got to kind of, put the ball in his hands more and allow Kawhi to be Kawhi. I mean, I understand Kawhi is a good 3-point shooter and he's lethal from the corners. Really, he's lethal from everywhere on the court. But honestly, I feel like there's got to be times in the game where they let him just isolate and, let the defense try to, make some adjustments and try to crash on Kawhi more so than rather than just, let James Harden be the system. And I think that's where a lot of the problem is. Letting James Harden be the system is one thing, but when he only gives you 15 points and has like 8 points all the way through the third quarter, somewhere in there, you're not going to win like that. I mean, you can't win like that. There's no way you can. So, I mean, it's one of those situations where the Clippers, I mean, man, it's a tough loss. But the Clippers got to find a way to rebound. They got to find a way to just make it through it and hopefully just play their hearts out this next game. And then play their hearts out this next game, get a narrow victory, because all these games have been very close. This has been probably the best series in the NBA playoffs, the most interesting series, the most intriguing series, all the above. Denver's just a tough out. They're a championship team from a couple seasons ago, and they're definitely a tough out. But the Clippers are a tough out too. So something's going to have to prevail. Hopefully it goes in the Clippers' way. Hopefully Clippers prevail in the situation. And it's probably going to need another virtuoso from Kawhi. Going to need another 25-plus point game from Harden. And need a pretty big game from Norman Powell too. Some of these role players are going to have to play great or well on the road. They can't just play decent to good at home. They're going to have to play well on the road. So the Clippers know what they need to do. So go out there and do it. Ty Lue, make the adjustments you need, and Kawhi just be Kawhi and let the rest take care of itself, because that's about the only way they're going to make it out of this series.